Welcome to the program. There is the People's Bench. We are coming to you from Ruto Silver Springs Hotel here in Nairobi, a very nice place where you can just come and relax with your family, especially during these festivities. For more, you can scan the QR code right on your screen. I am your host, Fred Ogweno, and tonight we are looking at who is gonna take President William Ruto home, if at all. The one-term dream has to be a reality. And to discuss this, I'm privileged to have Wakili. He's an advocate of High Court and a political analyst, Mr. Joshua Nyamori. He says it the way it is. How are you, Wakili?
Thank you, Fred. I'm happy to join you here today.
Welcome to the bench.
I had come to the bench before,
yes,
but not at this venue. Yeah, quite an appropriate venue.
Yes,
yeah.
There is the place to be.
I'm happy. I watch you every day.
Thank you.
Yeah, this is a great show.
Thank you.
I
appreciate.
Yeah.
Now, straight to our conversation today. President William Ruto. On the other side, we are having a one-term dreamers, and he says that it is two-term. We just came from by-elections, and we were able to see how he was able to take on his opponents. And the broad-based government took nearly, I think, 18 out of 24 seats, elective seats that were outside there for grab. Do you think that there is anybody capable of taking William Samoei Arap Ruto home?
Now, Fred, my view is that there is no one living in Kenya today capable of taking President William Ruto home unless a disaster happens. President William Ruto is far ahead of his competition, and for a number of reasons. We just saw it in the by-elections. I mean, these are by-elections that were coming after a lot of campaign had gone around the country, with the opposition declaring that William Ruto is one term. And they were boasting all over. But out of the 24 precincts that went into election, 18 went to the two parties that are aligned to William Ruto, that is ODM and UDA. And all the battlegrounds, which were the 7 constituencies and one county, went to him. So how else can you prove to me that somebody can remove him? But leave alone that. President William Ruto is in charge of the national state structure. He is in charge of the national agenda and has defined it very well. Okay? President William Ruto has been able to break through the traditional voting lines. Okay? Started by consolidating the Kalenjin land. Then he introduced an agenda that went beyond ethnic lines in 2022. And that was the economic agenda. And with that, with the bottom-up approach, he got support from all over the country, save for few areas like Luo Nyanza. Otherwise, he had broken into all the other areas. But now, come 2027, he is the candidate to beat in Luo Nyanza. Okay? And in those other areas, he's just consolidated his support. And then you also realize that the only area that was thought to be rebelling was Central, or rather Mount Kenya. He has proved in the last by-election that without stepping into the constituency to campaign, he has gotten half of the votes in that that particular constituency. That is Mbeere North. So Mbeere North was a test run of what is capable of doing. Okay? So imagine that he campaigned. Okay? Imagine that he uses the state power, that he puts boots on the ground for the whole of Mount Kenya. And then you've seen that after Mount Kenya, after Mbeere, the people who are gravitating around Gachagua are all scattering. They are fighting amongst themselves. You see that the other person who was being, projected as capable of beating William Ruto was Matiang'i. What has happened? This by-election has reduced him to be a village hero. In some small, but that's exactly what has happened. He's a village hero in a small corner of 3 wards in Nyamira. Why didn't he show any support in Malava? Why didn't he show any support in Mbeere? Why was his support not seen in Kasipul, which is a neighboring to the Gozi community? Why didn't he have any support in Ugonja? Why not Baringo? Why not the constituency in Northeastern? Why not Magarini? He's nowhere. Matiang'i is a pepper tiger. That is my... But you see, apart from all this, President William Ruto has also, consolidated international support. International support is very important for any presidential candidate in this country. Why am I saying this? You saw him in China. Okay? You now saw him today, the last 2 days, in the US. Okay? He's celebrated all over the world, everywhere he goes. He's a new leader, an emerging Pan-Africanist. Okay? So everywhere he goes, he stands out.
A new leader, Pan-Africanist,
yes.
Wakili, but back at home, kids cannot go to school. Capitation fee reduced. Hustler funds not working. SHA not working.
Fred, you are a journalist that I respect because I follow you. And you always do your homework. I would want you to do your homework on those issues that you have talked about. The capitation, you see the difference between William Ruto and previous presidents and other politicians is that he's honest. What President Ruto said, and this was confirmed by the CS for Treasury and the CS for Education, that while least the capitation on books has been 22,000, no government has provided that before. What has been provided has always been less than 15,000. Okay? But, so they declared what was in the budget and said, and said that they are going to negotiate with Parliament to be able to meet the 22. That was being truthful. But we need to go beyond, the capitation per child. And also look at the other, investments that William Ruto is making in education. I mean, you have been in this country. Kibaki, Uhuru were employing 3,000, 2,000 teachers in a year. Look at what Ruto has employed in the last 3 years. He's employed 76,000. They're going to get to 100,000 in January. That is revolutionary. Okay, it's never happened before. Okay, he's just in the process of recruiting 10,000 policemen. Okay, look at the employment that he has created in the housing sector. Okay, it's an average of over 400,000 young people working in various sites all over the country. And then some people criticize it, not everybody can do kazi ya mkono. But that's not the case. The issue is, it's not only the people working on site. Even the people working on site, we have both skilled and unskilled labor. But apart from that, we have, people working in quarries, people working in factories. We have, people working in the transportation and logistics
I hear you,
groups.
I hear you, but
we
where
have
is the
lawyers
money?
who will be doing conveyancing.
Where is money in our
Okay.
pockets with all that? Wakenya wanasema hakuna pesa mfukoni.
But when you work, you earn money. Okay? When you work, you earn money. So when I hear people saying that there's no money in the pocket, but they work and they are paid either every week or every month, that is what money is. And work all over the world. You don't work. There are only a few people who can be very rich. Okay? Yeah. So society is segmented. So what we should be doing is that incrementally we bring people from the lower levels to the upper levels. Okay? We need to move majority of our people from peasantry to the working class. But then as they get into the working class, with time we improve the standards of their work and we improve what they earn. Mao Zedong once told the labor movement in China that before you talk to me about labor rights, help me make sure that every Chinese has a job. And so he refused to listen to all this nonsense that especially the Western oriented labor movements were bringing to China. And through that, he created what others would call cheap labor. But it ensured that every Chinese has opportunity to work. Now, what did that do? It's that the entire world moved to China to produce. So that China became what is called the kitchen of the world. It is the factory of the world. Because even American companies have to set up in China for them to be able to produce things that can sell in America. When they produce in America things to sell in America, those things are very expensive because labor is expensive in America. Okay? So when you speak about no money in the pocket, those people are earning something. It might not be money to make them rich. But all we need is money to make sure, first and foremost, that our basic needs are met. And that basic needs are food, are clothing, are healthcare, it's education, and so on. Then with the time, this can improve. But we cannot say that, you and I should earn super salaries while the rest remain, you will remain with no employment. That when he creates employment for that mass that still have no employment, then you and I start complaining that we have no money in our pocket.
But Rigiji is not saying that.
But who's Rigiji? I mean,
he's a truthful man.
But Fred, we need to get to the country. We need to get to a level in this country where we save the country from mad people.
You can't say that.
And where we save the image of people who should be in hospital from being displayed in the media. Rigiji is clearly proving that he's not stable. Why is that? Listen to what Rigiji used to say when he was in government and what he says now. And he blames everybody apart from himself. Everybody should take responsibility for his mistakes. Okay? He blows his image and his ego. He has such an overblown ego, but reality check keeps proving him wrong. He looks like, these kids whose parents buy for them Superman, or dressing. And so they think they are Superman and they can jump from building to building. But reality check.
But
Mbere was a reality check.
He has the following. He says that in Mbere, President William Ruto's government used state intimidation, massive resources from public coffers, and also, look, the Professor Kindiki was able to camp there for nearly 2 weeks in just a single constituency. Will he be able to do that in an entire mountain?
Look at what Rigiji used to call Professor Kindiki.
Soprano man?
Look at what he used to call Professor Kindiki. And now, look at him crying. The President, William Ruto, did not go to Mbere. He let the Deputy President, Professor Kindiki, go and campaign. And Professor Kindiki has clearly proven that Rigiji is a pepper tiger. Professor Kindiki is the David. And Rigiji projected himself to be the Goliath. And he clearly proved that David could beat the Goliath. But you see, people would think that if David, which is Professor Kindiki, beats Goliath, who is Rigiji, then it means that this Goliath had some supernatural powers and strength. Nothing. Okay? There's a book called David and Goliath, written by a guy called, Gladwell Maxwell. Malcolm Gladwell. It's called David and Goliath. And, it exposes the fact that what we think is Goliath's strengths are actually his weaknesses. His big body, his armor, okay, was so heavy he could not maneuver. Okay? While David's small body and his loincloth with no armor were light and he could maneuver. And the sling, with the sling he could aim at that big body and hit the head. Okay? So Gachagua is this guy who painted a picture of being so big, while he is nothing. He's like a balloon that has been punctured. And so, in my view, Gachagua is no factor.
He can't.
And when you listen to if you look at social media now, a number of people who used to support him on social media are already breaking ranks with him. They're saying, who's this guy? What does he believe in? He has no ability. He's a con. That's
Gachagua.
Okay? He's a con.
The truthful man.
What is true about Gachagua? Let's discuss somebody else. Then the other guy who again projected himself to be so big and has been proved to be nothing was a former Attorney General.
My friend JB Muturi.
I have seen you, host him here. And I always tell people, JB Muturi is nothing, unfortunately. He may be your friend. JB Muturi just rose because he was Uhuru's friend. Otherwise, he's such a lackluster leader. Has not shown to be able to achieve anything. There is nowhere he has been where he has made remarkable changes. Okay? He has not evoked any support across the country. And he was talking about running for presidency. He was one of the people who was claiming credit for having made Ruto the president. So he had a chance in his own constituency. He had a candidate. They joined up with Gachagua. What did you see? At the end of the day, he had to go and physically fight a young man. Okay? You saw the video. It was all over social media. He was a man on a panic. But let's even leave Mbere, because Mbere has proven that Mount Kenya is a battleground. It's no longer somebody's fiefdom, as Gachagua and J.B. Muturi wanted it to look like. It means that the president has a sizable amount of support. And I take the people, I have friends from Mount Kenya, and I take them to be very practical people. And I'm sure that a number of them see the sense in working with President William Ruto, because there is nothing viable in the alternative candidates.
They want to teach him a lesson. People from Mount Kenya, they are saying that they want to teach Ruto a lesson.
That is Gachagua and Muturi. Okay? And a few people around them. The common man in Mount Kenya if Mbere was anything to go by, has clearly shown that they would want to work with the government.
Wakili man Steve-O brought together Stephen Kalonzo Musyoka brought together with Rigiji.
Kalonzo Musyoka first came to parliament in 1985. William Ruto must have still been in primary school. Okay? Kalonzo Musyoka has been minister for many years and a powerful minister in powerful ministries. He was minister for education. He was minister for foreign affairs. Kalonzo Musyoka has been a vice president, number 2 in this country. Kalonzo Musyoka has been a party leader since 2006 or 2005, 2006. Okay? But despite all this, Kalonzo Musyoka has been running mate. Has run for presidency, but has also been running mate for Raila Odinga. But the truth is, Kalonzo Musyoka has not grown beyond, his ethnic background, whose support he gets because of primordial relations with that vote, and that is Ukambani. So somebody who's not been able to break his ethnic background from 1985 to now, he's now approaching 80 or something like that. What is going to change? Nothing. What is it that Kalonzo brings to the table? He has no new message. President William Ruto sold us the bottom up. President William Ruto is now selling, and in the bottom up, it has not remained a theory. It has not just remained a manifesto. It has become a lived experience in terms of roads, in terms of expanded agriculture, in terms of the housing program, in terms of the digital jobs, in terms of the foreign jobs, in terms of, the health system, in terms of the education system, in terms of, it's become a lived experience. But beyond that, even as we are conquering the commitments that he made in the bottom-up manifesto, he has introduced a new dream. And the essence of leadership is to move the people forward by inspiring them to dream, to think, and to work towards greater goals. Okay? And so he has introduced a dream that Singapore was, at the level where Kenya was in 1963. And that his dream is that in his lifetime, Kenya will become a Singapore. Kenya will become a first world country.
Wakili, when President William Ruto speaks, he's so good. You may think that he's going to turn Kenya into another heaven, Look, when we were heading to 2022, he came, he sold us heaven on earth. He told us about Hustler Fund. He told us about all these things. They are just but dreams.
How?
Dreams.
Hustler Fund. Let me tell you, no government in this country has introduced a fund that reaches everybody.
With 500 shillings, Wakili, don't even go there.
No. Shillings. Let's discuss that. President William Ruto has explained this to Kenyans again and again. But the pessimists, some of them that I watch coming to your show, would want to paint Hustler Fund as 500 shillings. What the president said is that all the previous loaning system, financial systems, were giving people money according to, 1, your creditworthiness, and 2, according to your ability to pay, and 3, according to the security you'd provide. Then he said, I am going to introduce a new fund. And this new fund, you don't have to provide security. But you will also not be judged according to your previous creditworthiness. You will build a new credit history. And as you prove to be more credit worthy, you will be able to access more money. And so you have had, it's lived experience that there are people who have grown from getting a loan of 500 shillings to getting loans of over 100,000 shillings. And that it has moved from even just individuals to groups. And then, and you see people dismiss 500 and 1,000 shillings loan. But you know what? There are women who borrow 1,000 bob from Hustler Fund in the morning. They go and purchase what they are selling, the mbogas, the cassava. And they sell and make a profit of 300 shillings by evening, or 400. And then pay back the Hustler Fund. And tomorrow borrow another 1,000. And as they do that, they get to the point where they can borrow 1,200, 1,300. They get to the point where they can borrow 5,000 and 10,000. Okay? So what the president has done is to avail to you capital that you can grow. And as you grow, you can spend what you have, what the profit you're getting. So basically, he has given the wretched of the earth, the peasants, an ability to earn a living if you can be innovative and willing to work hard.
Thank you, Akili.
Yeah.
In the interest of time,
Yes.
tell me, what is this one thing that the opposition must find to rally and show people this devil with a longer tail in William Ruto? Because initially they used to point to Mheshimiwa Raila Odinga as the punching bag. He is no longer there. They were talking about issues to do with abductions. We no longer see them. President William Ruto has disarmed the opposition, literally. What is it that they are going to sell to the people to reject William Ruto in the ballot?
It would take a disaster in this country for the opposition to win against William Ruto. It would take a disaster. I don't see. Okay? As I told you when I was beginning, that William Ruto has defined the national agenda. Okay? So, the only socioeconomic and political agenda that is discussed in this country is the one projected by William Ruto. The opposition has nothing. President William Ruto has made the bottom up a lived experience. Okay? So that we have more food, so that the shilling is stable, so that the Hustler Fund is availing resources to the common man, so that education is expanding, so that the jobs are increasing, so that our infrastructure is increasing. But he has given us a new dream of taking Kenya to the first world level. And so we, as a first world high income country, and he's working to that. And he spoke about the story of how we have achieved. We are achieving the bottom-up approach, and he's told us what we need to do to get to the first world. He talked about our infrastructure.
Thank you, Akili.
Yes.
Thank you. You are parting short, even as we are winding up.
I would want to tell people to, anybody who is opposing the president, to settle down. Because it is not possible to remove President William Ruto in 2027. We should come together and work with President William Ruto until 2032. Okay? If the Constitution allowed us and he was willing, we could have even allowed him to go further. But let him stabilize our country and take us to the next level until 2032. Anybody who wants to run for election for the presidency and who wants to be president of this country should think about 2032 going forward. Otherwise, I believe that we are in stable hands and President William Ruto will take us places.
Wembe ni ule ambao mlitunyoa nayo 2022 ndio William Ruto anaenda kutumia.
Wembe ni kwamba Kenyans from all over the country are with President William Ruto. We have never had a president than William Ruto. Uhuru Kenyatta only had support from the mountain, and William Ruto gave him Rift Valley. And then Kibaki, after he messed up, after being elected in 2032, he only remained with the mountain. He alienated the Kikuyus against the rest of Kenyans.
So much for finding time to come to the people's bench, a bench by the people, with the people, from the people. Thank you so much. And with that, we come to the end of our conversation tonight. It has been a great privilege speaking with the Wakili Joshua Nyamori, him who says it the way it is, without mincing words. I've been your host, Fred Ogweno, coming to you from Muthu Silver Springs Hotel here in Nairobi, a very nice place where you can just come and relax, especially now during these festivities. You can come with your family and enjoy very wonderful cuisines here. And for more, you can scan the QR code right on your screen. Allow me to remind you, please don't forget to subscribe on our YouTube channel, so that any time we have this kind of useful, meaningful, candid conversation, you can always get the notification. Until next time, bye-bye, and God bless you.